4 years ago, I left one of the busiest cities in the world for this, a cozy house in northern Sweden. I left London for red squirrels, to have forests on my doorstep, and this house allowed me to do that and live a simple life. In this video, I'll share why I left London behind and how I ended up buying a $30,000 house in the middle of nowhere. I'll take you through the story, the challenges, and the unexpected joys of living simply. I'll also share my top tips for anyone interested in living a simple life. End of summer means it is blueberry season, and literally all around me are blueberries. Every year I aim to have at least 2 kilograms frozen, ready for winter. I already have 2 kilograms and I'm hoping to collect maybe 1 kilogram today. What is a simple life? I think it really will vary based on who you're asking, but for me it doesn't mean that a simple life lacks ambition or doing nothing. It just means I'm stripping my life to what I enjoy most. It's waking up without an alarm. It's spending more time in nature than sitting in traffic. It's about having the freedom to focus on the things I care about. I still work hard. I probably work harder now than when I used to live in the city. Yesterday I was in front of my laptop for maybe 11 hours editing videos and photos, but I do it on my terms, surrounded by nature. I can go to the forest whenever I want. So far I've picked pretty much nothing, so I need to get a move on. Ooh, a sour. Ooh. This is what I've picked so far. I would say it's around half a kilogram, but I'm not sure I'm going to get 1 kilogram. Let's see. This is my last bounty. See how much it is. I'm gonna say 600 grams. When people hear that I've bought this house for $30,000, they're usually very surprised. And it does sound a bit unreal that you can buy a house this cheap in Europe. But in the north of Sweden, especially in small villages, the population is declining. So there are a lot of homes that are empty for years. But this house has made it possible for me to live a simple life. I don't have a mortgage and I'm not pouring my income into paying rent, and that's been life-changing because it's allowed me to focus on a career on wildlife photography, which I think would have been impossible if I had lived in London. I found this house after living in the same village for a while. The neighbour I bought the house from already knew who I was, and so when I asked him via another neighbour if his house was for sale, because the previous year he did put it up for sale, so when I messaged him he was very happy to sell it to me, and it was actually a very quick process. There was no estate agents, no bidding wars, and I paid directly to the owner. And the house is exactly what we needed. It didn't need any major renovations, just a bit of decorating. The previous owner even left a lot of furniture, like a bed, a dining table. There were even wardrobes, and that meant it was very easy to settle in. A lot of people were skeptical and they kept asking me, what are you going to do there? But I knew that living here would really allow me to focus on my wildlife photography and YouTube, and at the time I didn't need to have a massive income to keep going. It gave me the space to focus without pressure. Of course, living here comes with its challenges and I will go into that, but it can get down to -30. You need to heat the house the entire winter, so that is very expensive. If not, pipes freeze, you get water damage, and that can be extremely expensive. So I've had to learn a lot, a fun challenge. Can you run on the log? Run down there. No, run down there. Hi. This afternoon I've come to the squirrel forest, and I was super worried because I hadn't seen Buddy in an entire week, and literally as I arrived, a goshawk flew over and landed about 15 meters away from me. And then I was just sat here with Sylvester, another squirrel, and Buddy just randomly showed up, so he's fine. So I thought I'd talk about what my life looked like before living in northern Sweden. So I was actually living in southwest London. I had a startup. I worked at the Natural History Museum in London, and I quickly realized that if I wanted to work in conservation or with wildlife, then it would be basically impossible living in London. So I started to look at opportunities outside of London, and I did have a PhD lined up. And so my plan was to start this PhD, and that was a way of being close to nature. And also the major thing is that I wanted to get out of London. I hated life in London. I hated the commute into the city, not having daily access to nature, and that really impacted my motivation. And I kind of had this feeling like, is this it? Because it's boring. Having to commute every day, spending the whole day at work, coming home, preparing for the next day of work, and then going to bed. I felt like there was nothing else to do in my day. Like I didn't have the time, I didn't have the energy. It was kind of boring. Oh yeah, stay there, stay there. That's it. I'm currently sitting on the edge of a field where I've been photographing some beautiful mountain hare leverets. Because they're young, they aren't really scared of people, so I can get quite close. It was just so amazing as one fell asleep right in front of me. But I actually wanted to talk about the sponsor of this video, Outdoor Photography Guide. If you've never heard of them, Outdoor Photography Guide is basically an online library packed with photography tutorials, all focused on outdoor photography. They also do live Q&A sessions where you can ask questions, get feedback, and actually connect with a whole community of photographers. Ooh, mountain hare is moving. Honestly, when I think back to when I was starting wildlife photography and trying to figure out everything on my own, like settings, what aperture was, I really wish I'd known about this kind of resource. If you're someone who loves wildlife photography, or you're just someone who wants to improve their outdoor photography, whether it's wildlife, landscape, macro, drone, this is such a good place to learn and get inspired. And right now, the first 1,000 of my subscribers who click the link in the description can get a full year of premium membership for just $1.49. That's for new members only, so do check it out. Okay, I think I'm gonna follow these hares. I think they're going into the village. So when did everything change for me? It was actually when I came here to northern Sweden. I absolutely loved it, and I asked the photographer who rents out the hides, Connie, whether I could come back as a bit of a volunteer. And sort of the deal we had was that I would help prepare meals, prepare rooms for the guests. In return, I could stay in the house and go to the hide a few days. Then COVID happened literally about a week after I arrived. I wasn't sure whether I was going to leave and go home to London, but Connie said, "You're welcome to stay." And I ended up staying about 5 months, and that meant that I experienced both winter, spring, and summer. What really surprised me when I came here was how connected I felt to the nature here. I loved it, and I love these guys. To do this as part of my day is amazing. Why would I want to be in London when I can hang out with you, right? Hello. I'm actually taking photos for my next Red Squirrels calendar, and I think I've already got the photo I want, but we can always take more photos. Oh, very nice pose. Like that. Oh, yes, yes. Just once more. That's it. Perfect. Well done. Thank you. That's it. Little treat. Bye. I'm gonna go now. Let's talk about money, because people always ask. And the truth is, obviously a simple life still costs money, but just a lot less than living in a city. I'm self-employed, I'm a wildlife photographer and online content creator, so my income comes from a bunch of places, mostly from YouTube sponsorships, so not actually from views, and also from Patreon. I have a lovely community who support me for extra content or for my YouTube videos early. I also sell my annual Red Squirrels calendar, and in the past I used to make most of my income around the holiday season, and then the summer would be very low and I'd almost be running out of my calendar income. But now that I have consistent YouTube sponsors, that really helps with making my income more stable. But I think if you're dreaming of a life like this and you don't have savings or a pension, you really need remote work, online income. There are so many opportunities now with the internet, and it's actually so nice that there are so many creators out there who make their passion their job. If you find an audience, especially a niche audience, then you don't need to have a massive following in order to make your passion your job. Living here is not all fairy tale forest walks and pretty squirrel photos. There are definitely some challenges. For one, winter is very long. We can get snow as early as October, and sometimes it doesn't melt until mid-May. There is also lots of snow shoveling. We've had our car stuck in snow. The other challenge is the darkness. In winter, we only have 4 hours of daylight, and I used to really struggle, but now I absolutely love it. I don't get tired, and what I do is as soon as it's light, even before sunrise, I get outside, especially if I'm doing photography in the squirrel forest. Then there's also the loneliness. I personally love to be alone and I don't get lonely, but generally we don't have many friends here, and every time I go back to London I prioritize seeing my friends. Another challenge has been learning how to do all sorts of DIY. I've learnt how to sand the deck, oil wood, all sorts of random things that I definitely would not have learnt if I didn't live out here, where it is very expensive to hire someone from the city to come here and do any work. So what have I learnt living this simple life? Living here has definitely made me rush less. I used to think that life was something I needed to keep up with. Like if I didn't work fast enough, then I'd fall behind. But in the past year, I'd say, I've definitely become far more efficient with my video editing, so I can produce more videos at the same quality, and that has definitely helped me have a more calmer pace. I've become more creative, not just in photography and video, but I also read, I bake. If you're dreaming of a life like this, first of all, it is possible. You don't need to be rich or have things figured out, but you do need to be brave enough to make the first step. I think my major tip is try it before committing. So I spent 6 months in the exact same village before I decided to buy a house. So I already had a good understanding of the challenges. Also, it's very much dependent on where you move to. I think you need to be comfortable being alone. Obviously we have neighbours and there is a community here, but we spend a lot of the time on our own. Also, I think it's worth having in mind that what I might not struggle with, you might struggle with. I don't struggle with loneliness, I don't struggle with the cold. I can freeze, where I can be in the squirrel forest for a few hours and my body is so cold that I almost don't feel it anymore. I do miss certain things like being able to go into town, go to a coffee shop and go to a bookshop. Obviously we still do that, but it has to be planned. Like going to the city takes the whole day, and if we're going all the way there, we might as well go food shopping, go to hardware stores and all of that. I know this is a bit of a different video, but I always get questions on this topic, and I hope I've answered many of them. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.